Can you see a Excel screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I would like to basically tell you what we have in planning system and
Mhm.
what we have in execution system. So right now in S4 HANA or like ERP system, which is the earlier on-premise versions that we had, which we called as ECC, which is nothing but ERP system, SAP's ERP system.
Yes.
So this was typically like we have different modules like PPM, finance, sales and distribution. So there are different modules, but the same login. So this is called the execution system. So whatever you do, like a purchase order, sales order, procurement order, purchase requisitions. So these are all what is saved, stored, and these are execution systems. So these are the real orders and what we had earlier to IBP. So I would call like IBP as a successor of APO. APO is like advanced planning tool. So what APO did, so I'm just giving a brief of what APO did on top of this execution systems. So that when we move to IBP, we know like, okay, this is what happened in APO. That's why we are having it in IBP. So you have a knowledge, right? There is some planning tool called APO.
Hmm.
Okay, so APO is called, this is SAP's Advanced Planning and Optimizer. How it originally started is like there are certain functionalities that execution system was not able to do it like as a, like complex things. Like so, if you take a PP and MM, based on your procurement type, whether it is an in-house production, then you create a production order. If it is external procurement, you create a purchase request. So just a basic understanding I'm just taking. I'm not going in deep. So the same thing, what APO does is it created a module called supply network planning. They usually call it as SNP. Okay. So supply network planning, what it do, it's the same MRP run. So you are familiar with the terms, right? MRP run.
Yes.
It's a
I, I
material.
I saw APO so once from a college, but you can maybe explain SMP what exactly that makes.
Okay, so this is the MRP run. So what is MRP is like material requirement planning. So you have a demand, and for the demand you are going to create receipts.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's say in production planning or in MM, so you have a product, let's say product P1, having a demand, let's a customer order or a sales order or a customer inquiry or a forecast or a planned independent requirement, anything that is there in. Have you gone through this MD04 screen in S4
Yes.
HANA? You can see what are all the receipt elements there.
Hmm. So that is that makes the checks. Maybe stocks or customer orders and
Yeah,
makes
stocks, yeah,
proposition.
demand, yeah, all the order details will be there. So MD04 you can see all whether you have a stock, whether you have a customer order, whether you have a sales order, whether you have a planned order or you have a purchase request. All these things there will be in MD04. So how this is created, you have to run a MRP run. So once you run a MRP run, it calculates something called a net demand, right?
Hmm.
Net
Yes.
demand is nothing but you have some demand and you have some stock inflow, which is going to increase your stock at particular date. So for that date, based on the demand, so it will be like you have demand. So what MRP does is equal to, it checks demand. So it is equal to demand minus supply, which is nothing but net demand. So demand element should be like customer order, sales inquiry, and a lot of things. So these are the demand elements, or like you can have planned independent requirements, okay, or forecast, and then you can have a forecast. Forecast is based on your old sales history. You are predicting how much your forecast might be in future weeks or months. So these can be our demand, and your supply item should be like your production order or stock transfer order or ASNs or purchase. So these are your receipt elements. That means these are going to increase your stock. So I will also add stock over here.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, for any product at any location, what are your customer orders? Like this is going to like a demand element for me, and these are all of my supply elements. So if I subtract this, if my demand is more than my supply, that net demand I am going to create any of these things based on purchase procurement type. Let's say if it's procurement type is so in-house and external. So if it is in-house, then you create a production order. If it is external, you create a purchase request or purchase order. So this is what MRP is doing. So to do this, we have algorithms. So we have so planning is all about algorithms. We have different engines they call and heuristics optimizer and CTM are different kind of finite and infinite planning engines. So this will determine there are some criterias that can be met with these three planning tools.
But
Okay.
with S&P, what exactly we mean with supply network planning?
Okay, so we have a restriction of PP where we do product, MRP at plant level,
Mhm.
and we don't have a visibility over the entire network. So let's say we have different distribution centers attached to different warehouses, attached to different production plants, and
Okay, okay, I understand.
okay.
Okay.
So what supply network planning is doing is it considers all into account, and there are different things that you can customize here. So heuristics like is a infinite planning. It thinks like whatever the customer demand is there, the net demand is there. I will try to manufacture or purchase outside and provide. Okay. So here there is a concept called supply network. Supply network is nothing but let's say I have a customer. I have a retail store. I have a distribution center. I have a warehouse. I have kind of let's say this is my a simple network. Okay, so this is one network, and I can have n number of customers for a single store. I can have many stores like this across the region, across the country, and I can have different distribution centers adhering fulfilling the demand of the retail stores, and this
Mhm.
distribution center can be fulfilled based from warehouse, and warehouse is like storing inventory stocks from manufacturing plant, and I can have many manufacturing plants. So this entire network would be like huge, and when I run the MRP run at any retail store or distribution center or warehouse, it connects to all entities. So let's say the retail store is connected to distribution center 1, but there is a nearby distribution center 2. So this can also support fulfilling the stock out situation of any product in this retail store 1. So if we have certain conditions written in any of these engines, then during the stock out situation, distribution 2 also can fulfill the retail store 1. Okay, so this kind of network forming is done in APO, supply network planning. So here if they run the heuristics, it thinks like my customers I have to fulfill at any cost. Then even if my manufacturing plant's capacity is not able to fulfill, let's say 100 is in overall customer demand, and I flow through this supply chain, and when I'm coming to manufacturing plant, maybe there are some stocks over here, and negating that stocks I am getting some 80 remaining to be manufactured, but my capacity is 50. I can only manufacture 50 in this week, so how to fulfill the next remaining 30? So I can give a subcontracting. I can also purchase from another store or anywhere, and I can fulfill this customer. So
Mhm.
thinking that I have unlimited capacity, heuristic runs, and once heuristics is run, then we have something called capacity planning. There we will see which are the resources or bottleneck resources. This is like into PP, like production planning. If you are having certain procurement scenarios, like let's say we have vendors, so we have different vendors, like some of the vendors is not able to fulfill the customers, they have the capacity limit, and during that time also we can check for other vendors who can fulfill not only the finished goods or some halved materials or raw materials which we need from vendors. All this can be maintained over supply network planning, and heuristic things like whatever the customer demand I will fulfill, and then we see which are the bottleneck resources or bottleneck vendors, all these things. So this is what APO on top of production planning tries to help the production planning well in advance, like for next few weeks or 6 months, or like 6 weeks. We are creating something called a planned, so it is not, it is a proposal and it's not a final decision. So in production planning we will set automatic approval or manual approval by the user. They will have something called a planned orders or proposal, purchase requisition proposals, that we will go in the system and approve it. Once approved, the normal process of MM and PP execution system takes off. So APO tries to helps you to utilize the entire supply network, and you can build a lot of scenarios like this. Let's say one there is a retail store and there are different distribution centers. Which one has to supply me which percentage, or like who has to supply me first, and if they are not able to do, then the next supply center, based on cost, based on capacity, based on truckloads, lot of things can be maintained.